Oh, we ain't done
It's
yet.
our second one.
We did all the short stuff first.
And then Mr. Lewandowski, you're still leading us in the pledge as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, you're okay. Go ahead.
You can start whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay. You're right, I guess I should do that. Forget where I'm at. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the Keystone Heights Council Christmas Market Workshop, Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. Ms. Silva, can you please call roll call?
Mayor Nina Roddenroth,
Here.
Vice Mayor Christine Thompson,
Here.
Councilman Tony Brown,
Here.
Councilman Elston Speedy Cussler,
Here.
and Councilman Dan Lewandowski.
Here.
All present, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Van Zant, would you please do the invocation?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for this evening, Lord. Thank you for your blessings, Lord. Thank you that we live in a great community that rallies together and can lean on each other. I pray tonight for all the people that are in the path of this storm. Lord, I pray for our first responders, our linemen, and others that will be out there addressing the needs that this storm creates. Lord, I pray for our military all across the world that gives us, protects our freedom, Lord, for us to assemble and meet without any adverse actions like we're doing here tonight. Lord, we thank you, and we ask that everything discussed tonight, Lord, and acted upon will be in a way that brings honor and glory to you. All these things we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, we have a rather full agenda, and it's a bunch of topics that we are interested in covering. I'm going to hand out to council because we have already had, this is basically at least our second workshop, or at least third discussion about such event of a Christmas workshop gathering with a marketplace in the city. And I'm trying to stay within the microphones here, but what I'm doing is I am tracking pretty much every project that we have going on, every meeting, workshop specifically that we have, and what is stated at that workshop, so that I can capture our discussions, and so we're not just chasing our tails and doing things over and over again and making progress, because you can get caught up in this stuff and just not make any progress at all and keep doing the same task, and then our staff in the city hall is chasing around and doing things that are not productive. When I looked at this agenda, and I don't know if any of y'all in the audience pulled this up or with council, but it's quite packed. And what I've done tonight is highlighted some areas that I feel we have to walk before we run in order to decide if we're going to move forward with a Christmas market or not. And I want to, because really with all this information, this could turn into several hours. And I'm going to make sure we have a hard stop at no later than 7:30. You all in the audience, I do want you all to be able to interact with some of the things that we're going to talk about. We do have some differences of opinion on what we would like to see happen within our council, but they're all good, and they're for all good reasons. And so I want to get into a presentation that I have put together that I think is on the same line with all the goals that we have in mind. So first of all, before I get started on the agenda, there's really two visions essentially that we have, and it's mainly me and Mr. Lewandowski. Is I know he came up with this idea to do like what you know about in Germany, where they do a Christmas market in kiosk type things, where they have like a stand behind station and they sell goods to all the community and people come out during the holidays, right? It's very festive, it's very fun. They do it in all of the European countries. I know my brother-in-law is going on to Europe this year to experience that. And in our town, I mean, it's a great idea to come and, you know, we're just looking at added things for the community that I think that they would enjoy, and certainly Dan as well. And I think most of us have agreed that we think it's a good thing to think about investing in. But he's thinking more of a kiosk situation, more for the holiday, like during Christmas this year, particularly December 14th, which is around the time of the parade this year. So December 14th is the date in mind to think about. I'm looking at not only Christmas, I'm looking at down the road. What does our future look like for that type of a venue to offer to our public, not just for Christmas, but other times throughout the year, which it could be a variety of things, products. It's still retail. It doesn't matter if it's sold during Christmas or throughout the year. It still takes some kind of a building or whatever for them to set up to be there to do that. And as you can imagine, there's a variety of challenges that come along with that. It comes down to the investment and the commitment and what we think is best for our community. So I decided, because this is so big, there's a few hurdles that we have to come to a decision on before we can really strike out and do something. And again, this is to meet the goal that Mr. Lewandowski has shot for, which is December 14th of this year. These minutes here, we had a meeting. The first time it came up was February 28th in a general workshop. Now, we've had a lot of changes in City Hall this year with staffing and a lot of things, but we've accomplished a lot. And I'm very proud of everyone who have just, learned a lot and been very productive. But, this wasn't something we could start out of the gates with, this type of a project. So July 16th, we had a workshop, which I think we had a lot of great discussion. There are videos online, our website, if you ever care to go watch and hear what was discussed. But I did capture concerns that council had, specific concerns that really need to have further discussion. And those concerns are addressed with this presentation. And they're very valid before I think we can move forward with any decision that we would vote on next week. So I'm calling it the Christmas Market Workshop. Next slide, please, Drew. So the areas I think in our agenda, to me, that bubbled up, to me, that are most important before we can make any decision really to move forward is location and parking, building selection, property preparation, cost analysis, zoning, and timelines. Timeline meeting December 14th, which is what Dan has asked us to consider. And I agree. I'd love to have it. It's right before the Centennial launches. I think it's a great time for us to launch something new and different. This is a photograph of what the Christmas venue would look like in Europe. Next slide. So I have been looking around and wondering, where do we have the most flexibility to do what we would want to do? And I have to think about where somewhere that we own property that is not in use currently, that is in town. This piece of property the city owns. It is right across from the old firehouse, down right around, just right across from Dunkin' Donuts. Those little white boxes are actually Clay Electric, and then the building across from there is also owned by the city, which is a storage area for our public works guys. So this is right off of Magnolia. Not even another building there is that Quick Lube place that goes right off of 100. So I have taken a look at this property. It is 0.16 acre in size. Next slide, please. We own it. It equals 6969 square feet. There is parking that we can make available. Looking at an average parking space is about 180 square feet. per spot. This property is all grassed. It does have current fencing around it, so it'd be minimal property improvements. It's close to downtown, and I think that it could be a future Keystone City market. It could also serve as the Christmas market. For this year, I would say we would dedicate it to be solely a Christmas market in honor of the December 14th opportunity. So in other words, vendors that will want to sell those types of items at that location, making it like a destination. Next slide.
Can I say something before you, while you're on that?
Yes.
On that piece of property, if you were to do that, I would suggest put temporary fencing on the property line.
I'll get to that. Yes,
Okay.
I agree with you completely. Let's see, which slide were you at? Is this the one, the next slide?
This was the one you're at.
Okay. Now, I'm looking at a finished building. I think we have to make sure that we acquire something that looks consistent, something that we could have painted with the heritage colors that were used downtown to connect to the city, to the downtown area that the Heritage Commission selected. This is a building that's a 10 by 20. This is a company that I happen to use with my shed I have. I've had it now for almost 7 years. It's a very high quality product. They're a great business to work with. These are portable. They're very well made. And again, they look very kind of historic looking. They're very charming, like the style. They make a lot of different styles. And when I say stellar finished, so you can buy these things unfinished, and then, or you can finish them yourselves. Well, when you say finish, it means, is it wired for AC, or is it wired for electric, AC, flooring, insulation, walls put in, ceilings put in? All of that carries a dollar figure, okay? So either we buy a bare building and we do it, which that costs, you got to pay for supplies and you got to hire someone who would do it. Again, I'm talking December 14th, the goal date, okay? These folks have promised me to deliver 4 of them finished on December 7th. It normally takes 90 to 120 days, but she told me they could do that. So I'm just pitching an idea, a vision for food for thought. Next slide. And these are some things that this finish includes. I know my husband did mine, and it was quite involved. It takes a lot of time. And with the cost of supplies today, we have that kind of an unknown figure. So again, it's 120 square feet. It would have like a porch and like a little finished porch. It'd be very attractive. Next slide. And that would also be painted in our colors. So in answer to your question, Tony, the property to me would require some privacy fencing, because I think we want to make it look nice. It's already fenced. It is, except for the side where the other business aligns with it. But we would want to make sure it's fenced all the way around. And we want some privacy fencing, especially along the side of the building on the right. We would want to move that fence in the front. This is looking at it from Magnolia. Move it in some so you could park cars there. And then, now mind you, this is 6,900 square feet of land. Each one of those buildings would only be 120 square feet. So you can put a bunch of buildings in there, which I don't think we would want to load it, because I think we want to have walking space and all that kind of stuff. I only put this in just for looks. I think initially I'm only thinking maybe 4 buildings to start off with and see how they do. But you could imagine, though, it would be a very charming, it'd be a destination that people may want to go and shop and see different items to buy. So the property to me would require the fencing, grading, because it's all grass right now, and some kind of grading to sit it on top of, which they would come in and deliver it and sit it on top of that grading. The company would do that. And electric connections, so Clay Electric would have to come. There's actually a power pole right on the corner by the fence. It doesn't look like it would take much. And then property lighting, it probably already has some that I don't know about. Again, drawing the parking spaces and signage. Signage would be important. And we're talking about doing that anyway for the whole Lawrencescape effort that we're going to continue doing into next year. As soon as the corner is finished, we're going to go and finish up the landscape, the rest of the Lawrencescape project that was initiated just a couple of years ago. And signage is a big piece of that, to tell people where things are. So, and I think there's things we could grow off of this property beyond this. But in initial phase 1, I think it would not be a bad idea because of where it's at. Next slide. The quote that she has given me, which is now going to be less than that because I talked to her today and they are working on a lower quote, and I will find out about that soon. Next year, we would buy a mini split AC, and it'll be a hole dug out to it that you can put the AC in, so it'd have AC and heat. But for this purpose of December 14th, we would just leave it not with the AC in it right now. And then I don't know, on the fencing and grading and all that, we would have to get a quote on that. The hookup for the power, what Clay Electric would charge us to do that. Next slide. So the lot is designated for property zoning, and I really was going to try to call Rich today to ask about this. It says a nonprofit service property based on property appraisal, and so it's nonprofit. So it's a transitional. It's not a. This building is transitional, meaning it's not a permanent dwelling. So I don't know if any of y'all know about. I'm assuming that it would be okay unless we would have to apply for a rezoning to place such a building on that lot. I don't know that answer. Do you know?
Can I,
Yeah, please do
Off the top of
interject.
my head, no, ma'am, I don't.
that property was owned by the fire department, volunteer fire department. And at one time, there was a huge shed put on there by Clay County for supplies and stuff like that. So there has been a shed on there, no electricity or anything. There has been a shed put
Okay.
on that property.
We wouldn't put water or anything like that. It would just be electric only. Because I think that's all that we would need.
The other, while you're on that, the only concern I have is you got one area where you can go in. If you put, I mean, you're gonna have to put something, a barrier between the firehouse, the old firehouse.
That's correct.
And the property we own. The other problem is you're not gonna have, you're gonna have one in and one out. And I don't know, you might have to check with fire marshal on that.
And ask, yeah.
And how, because the property that you're showing, the little huts or whatever, the concrete buildings, that's Clay Utilities.
Correct. And it's fenced off separate.
And that's fenced off separate.
Right.
So there's no exit to that thing because the only gate that is an exit over by Dunkin' Donut is owned by Pinch a Penny that owns the old firehouse.
Right,
So-
right. So yeah, I'm sure we can get creative with making more than one opening on that front area there. I mean, it's not that huge of an area there where it holds like a ton of people. I mean, but we'd have to get some input from them, of course, and see what those options are. The good thing is it's flexible, I think, to consider. I don't know. But next slide, please. Now, the reason I'm showing this slide, y'all, is again, the date, December 14th. Whichever decision we come to, and I know, Dan, you have a different idea, we have to come to a decision because we've been talking about this now since early this year. And either we're going to do something or we're not. And if we decide to take something like this and push it out to next year, that's fine, or down the road. But I think that when you look at the building, we need to make a decision. Are we going to go with that building at that location? We give the nod. Charlie goes and makes the decision to buy the buildings to these folks. And then and actually I found out today they could get them to us sooner than December 4th, than the date I mentioned, December 6th or whatever. So, but she's going to come back to me with that quote. But we have to decide, though, by next Monday if we're going to do this or not. Vote.
So, we had a conversation yesterday, Mayor, and you told me the basics of the plan, and I'm seeing the slides for the first time tonight with the rest of the council. And I have in front of me our purchasing plan. And just like I couldn't go spend $5,300 on the generator, I can't, without going to a bid under our current purchasing policy, dial up a single source provider for, what'd you say, over 16,000 apiece for 4.
So it'd be around 60
Yeah,
less.
so
It's gonna-
I mean, I could have further talks with Rich, but I think you would have to vote as a council to totally sidestep all this to try to fast track something that may or may not. It seems a little rushed. We need to staff this. If I could have things a little bit early, we could go ahead and troubleshoot purchasing, planning and zoning, entry, exit, all those kind of things, negotiate an easement with Clay Utility Authority if we need one. But there's several pieces to this, I think, that I can't just go do without y'all having grounds to fire me. I like it here.
So really, the location, though, I think is probably the priority.
Yeah, I think we can get there because you
It's the
are your own planning and zoning ultimate authority.
I mean, that's probably the priority before anything else.
Right.
And then and yeah, I can understand the deal about, and what she was gonna do is, they have some that they can offer us at a lesser price, but she can do the finish. And they're sitting there in inventory that they would do. They typically don't do that. They usually do it ground up and do the finish, but they would do that for us. And she said, well, do it at a lesser price. But if it has to go on a bid thing, of course, that's going to take time. And I mean, I don't know how much time. I mean, we're still, RFP things take forever, it seems. So that's a whole nother challenge. So that definitely won't happen by December 14.
What is the minimum that you can, I think it's
So, if it's to expend more than $10,000, your purchasing policy says
Right.
we'll go out to competitive bid.
okay, thank you.
Okay. I understand that.
Yeah.
Well,
And that needs to be I need to upgrade all this into 2024. This might have been good pricing for the 80s and 90s, but
I'm
nothing
thinking it's a
isn't
little bit
expensive
higher
anymore.
than that now, if I recall correctly. So I think that's close enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's a government entity, you have to bid it out.
okay. So, I put together this just simply so that when we do think about doing these types of things, we just have to think about all the different pieces that go into it to make it a reality, and all the folks that we touch. And that is only, I mean, that's still another workshop or two just with the rest of this stuff, right? And, that was just kind of a little bit of a reality check there to me even when I put it together. Next slide, because I don't want to dominate this meeting. So my vision here, y'all, is to support small business, to increase our retail footprint, future tourism based on Save Our Lakes, new destination venue. I recently did I'm getting ready to do some interviews with our businesses. Right now, the beauty market downtown, we're speaking specifically Lawrence, is 21% of our footprint. Our retail it went up to 18% when I added 4 of those little sheds. It was 12.
Are you talking about square footage?
No, I'm talking about,
sales?
no. I'm talking footprint. I'm talking building, selling a business. So individual businesses in town, I looked at 51 brick and mortar businesses on Lawrence from 100 all the way to here, essentially. And it's 51 businesses in those categories based on the way I blocked them. And hair and beauty is dictating 21% of our brick and mortar in the downtown area. Businesses, meaning lawyers, real estate, 20%. Medical, meaning I think it was, the doctor's offices, the
Dentist.
medical, anything medical type things. I had them all categorized. The restaurant was like 5%. As we all know, there's no restaurants downtown. So what I'm trying to say is, by putting just 4 of those buildings, it moved that needle 5% on retail. So it'd be nice to have a little more balance, you know? And I think with our future, things that are coming, I think it would be a nice add. And, you know, I do see additional things being done over there in that area that's not really being used much right now. Next slide. And I don't think that's going to happen because we got all this other stuff. Now, tonight, before I finish, because I know we have a lot to talk about, we have some special guests here tonight. We have Sam and we have Mo, and they own the Golden Glow Tanning Salon here. Sam owns it and has affiliate business in Gainesville. But Mo has a business on the side where she's a crafter and makes homemade candles, and very high quality product. And could you come up, Morgan, and share with us a little bit about you go every weekend, and what I want the council to understand is there are people out there that would probably enjoy kind of like my model of what I'm talking about. Like, can you share with us if you feel there's a need for this type of a platform in Keystone Heights? Yeah, you have to talk on the microphone because they're being recorded.
You're turning red.
Just introduce yourself, and I know you're a local gal.
Go ahead and put that thing on. So my name is Morgan Lambert, as everybody in town knows me as Mo. I do own a candle company. I do markets every weekend. What else were you wanting me to share? Just kind of talk about the markets?
So yeah, the markets and everything that all the folks you travel with and the needs that they have, like things that they like. And do you think that us setting up something like that would be something they would buy into? Like they would want to rent from the city as a storefront?
Absolutely. I mean, for one, this town is a little smaller as far as places to rent for other local businesses. We don't really have a lot of storefront opportunities coming in, or coming open, I should say. And if they do come open, they're gone pretty quick, or they're bigger spaces that aren't a good fit for a smaller business. So something like this, you know, even if you were only going to do it a couple times a year, or if you did do something like this where they could rent it out, you know, sign a lease or, you know, whatever for a year, 6 months, what have you, I think that you would see quite a bit of interest in that. As far as just kind of stepping off the path a little bit, I think this town would do good with a more regular local market to kind of incorporate the smaller businesses that you don't see having storefronts. That's kind of what I do every weekend. I go around. Markets are a big thing, and they draw in a lot of foot traffic that, you know, could help the other businesses out as well. You know, if they're in town for the day, they're popping by the market, so they're popping in all these other little shops that they probably wouldn't stop through if they're just driving through for the day. Or so I mean, you network with a lot of different people every weekend. I travel as far as Trenton, Oxford, which is down past Ocala, and people are always looking for other event spaces to utilize because even for me, I traveled out that far because even though I'm not from that area, I'm still gaining business from other areas all around, and other businesses, like small businesses like me, are looking to do the same. So and I go spend money in those towns when I'm out that way, so I think it kind of all in all, full circle, is a great thing for the town, and it gets the town more involved. And then they care a little more. I feel like it gets more involved with things like this, like the meetings and other little events that we might have throughout the year, stuff like that. So, I mean,
well, it's almost like you have your own little community.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, and it helps build that. So, definitely gets the community more involved with things like local markets.
Yeah, what I like about that type of setting, it's almost like a little village.
Yeah,
And
you're kind of going
it's just
away.
something a little different to do, something else to do.
Right.
You know, even we have events, or let's just go around the corner and go see what they're doing over there.
Right. And if you have, like you said, like the Christmas market, I think that's such a cute idea. If they're the buildings or that little area, when you do get the buildings in, if they're all decorated for Christmas or for Thanksgiving
Yeah.
or, you know, Easter markets, all that kind of stuff. What am I thinking? Oh, it's like spring markets. It just gives a little bit of a different feel, a little bit of a different vibe, kind of like they're not just in Keystone, they're kind of being transported into a different little area. I think it would draw a lot of foot traffic for sure.
Do you think it would be the better idea to offer it seasonal or like on a weekly type of basis? The
I
availability.
think if you are spending the money for the buildings, then I think it would probably be better to just do a couple really big events a couple times a year, like a spring village, a holiday village for around Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. I think those are your biggest times. During the summer, it makes it a little more complicated because it's so hot. A lot of people don't like to get out, walk around, but during those couple times a year, those are when, those times of the year are when people are looking for something to do. The weather's, you know, nicer. And like the spring markets, the fall markets, those are when people are wanting to kind of do the outside activities. So I think if you do spend the money to do something like that, it would just be a couple big markets a year. But kind of like what you had mentioned, vendors could still have maybe the opportunity to rent them out for longer periods of time, and they'll be there for those markets, but they'll also be there for extended periods of time throughout the year or whatever.
Yeah, it's just, we have to think about justifying the cost.
Right,
Yeah.
100%.
We spend taxpayer money.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
Okay, I appreciate it. Y'all have any questions for Mark?
I'm worried. I won't pick on you.
Thank you.
Are these places that you go to for your events, are they put on by cities, counties, or individual?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
So some of them are, like the ones in Ocala that I go to are typically in the downtown Ocala
Okay.
area. So it's an actual pavilion where the downtown Ocala market, that's its sole purpose. And they host other events there as well, but it's there for their every Saturday market. It's a big pavilion. Other places are privately owned by, some of them are like big farms, like Brown and Brown Farms. That one's down in Oxford. It's a working farm, but they set up in just a field. So it's a little bit of both. And some of them are very small, like storefronts. So I guess probably the city would host those, like Downtown Stark will do theirs like on Call Street
Right.
a couple times a year. So it's a little bit of both.
Okay. Thank you.
Y'all have any questions? No? Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Okay. That's all I have tonight. Any thoughts from you all?
Madam Mayor and Council, I must apologize. There's a consent agenda item on there, and I needed to let you guys know that's my mistake. I'm very new to workshops. We did not have very many of these in Alachua County, so I did not realize that there's no voting during a workshop. So that will be moved to October 7th. I apologize. That was an oversight on my behalf.
It's okay. I was thinking, I didn't think we did, but that's why I probably walked right over it.
Can I make a suggestion?
Mm-hmm.
The area that you're talking about, before we go to invest in anything like that, I saw you had parking. You're gonna move the fence in, you're gonna have some more parking right there. But that's about all the parking you're gonna have.
So I have another,
Unless you take across the street and wipe that all out and make that a parking lot, that would be the only safe place to have a park, because that Magnolia is driven and
I
it's speed
have
limit.
already looked at that. And actually, I've looked at a couple of things on that property. And let's see here.
The pole barn is not that old.
Correct. So, hear me out. Been over there several times since last Sunday. That is .32 acre property, 13,000 square feet. The property, if we took it all down, could hold almost 70-something spaces at 200 square feet per space. I mean, that's the standard for a parking space. We would never need that many. The pole barn, what if, I've heard we used to have a farmer's market here in town.
Yep.
What if we decided to start having a farmer's market at that pole barn and make that useful again, bring that back, okay? I talked to somebody today, a lady at the Coastal Shed said, oh yeah, I used to go to it back in 2016 or whatever, before I moved here. And I'd like to look at that other building potentially for the Heritage Commission, for their museum. I don't know what kind of shape it's in, but it sits on a concrete foundation, which is a plus. It might be worth a look. Or it gets leveled and we go get another one of these buildings like I'm talking about, which they had one that would be totally big enough to do for them. They don't need anything like it's a brand new build, but they need a little space for their stuff. And now you have a true destination and the rest of it becomes parking, okay? So to me, it's kind of nice because it's all right there, you know? But I know we got a lot of stuff stored there, you know, Charlie Moore, what's over there, I don't know. But it's land we already own. And like Dan said, if we can buy any land we have in town here and do stuff with it, because we don't have much, and make it for the community, things that they can use, you know, it's a real bonus. It's just outside the box thinking. It was something I really had been thinking about.
I need to ask somebody a question.
Sure.
Karen?
Yeah, Karen.
We took up those gas tanks years ago that were in there, right? Okay. We used to have gas pumps there.
Oh yeah, those have to be taken out.
They're out.
Yeah.
I just couldn't.
But you know,
remember.
that would be, I mean, an ideal spot. And that pole barn looks pretty decent.
Oh,
Be
it is.
ideal for a farmer's market.
It's a nice pole barn.
And then you already got the concrete there, or the asphalt. But, you know,
Well, I myself would like to go look at it.
we should all
And
should go
I
look
mean,
at it.
as a group, I think that
should
we need to go look at it.
We should definitely all
And
go look at it.
because right now, off the top of my head, I don't remember what it looks like over there. I pretty much stay over here. So I need to, I mean, seriously, I need to go look
My
and see
office
what
is
it
over
looks
on that side
like.
of town.
Yeah, he's right over there. He's right across the street. Yeah, it's just right down the street from me, so. Any comments, Dan?
Well, I have a whole ton of stuff to say. but
Well,
I was
please
just waiting for you to
do.
finish.
No, I'm done, really. I
Oh,
just,
okay.
you know, I want to make sure our folks in the audience got to speak
Okay.
and talk and whatnot.
I guess first I'd like to say, I know what you've done has taken a lot of time and a lot of work. And thanks for doing all that research and looking into it and looking at the options and all that kind of stuff. And I think that there is a lot of really good ideas there. And here's the but. It's nothing with what I proposed back in late February, early March. This is not my idea. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I was proposing. Yours is a completely different idea. And I kind of feel like that I've been pushed aside and pushed aside and pushed aside since late February, early March. And so I've asked the city manager to put on the agenda for the October meeting so that we can make decisions. And I can either get a vote thumbs up or thumbs down by this council that my ideas either have merit or they don't. Because the workshops, almost half this workshop was spent on something that's not what I wanted to talk about.
You got an hour.
A little less than that.
No, you got an hour. I said 7:30. Go for it.
Okay, my clock says 6:40, but okay. My idea, for example, of December 14th was chosen for two reasons. One is that's the day of the parade, and two, that's the day Kiwanis has reserved the pavilion for Santa Claus that evening. And so in my mind, if you're going to do a Christmas market, you need to do it at the beach. You need to do it where the festivities are going to be. And please don't get this confused. It's not the tree lighting ceremony. That's a completely separate event. The lights are going to be up long before December 14th. The object of mine was to perhaps test one kiosk, but to invite, like we do for July 4th, a whole bunch of vendors and have them set up their tents and set up their wares and that kind of stuff. So you don't have to worry about a timeline so much, except you got to get the word out. Because my niece, she runs a company called the Waters Cattle and Farm Company, and they sell meat and hay and stuff like that. And she plans out these markets months and months in advance. And when she finally found out when the Keystone Heights market was going to happen this past Christmas, because we had one, it was too late. She was already booked. So that's why I wanted to start in late February, early March to plan this, was so that we weren't late to the game, we weren't late to getting vendors. I don't know how many vendors will be available on the 14th of December now, because we're already less than 3 months away. And what I had hoped we would do at this workshop was discuss a location. Is it going to be the beach, or is there a better location? And I was looking for inputs or thoughts from the council. Is the 14th good enough, or should we try to make it better for our vendors by making it all weekend long? Or is that too much trouble because they have to set up and break down, and you can't secure their goods overnight? So maybe it's one day, or maybe it's all weekend, I don't know. And then back from my time in Europe, they would always have some kind of entertainment. And most of the entertainment was youth choir groups or small local quartets that wanted to just play for 45 minutes. Well, we've got a whole nice stage right there at the beach. We could invite McRae Elementary and Keystone Heights Elementary and Melrose Elementary and the Keystone Heights Junior Senior High School to come in, and maybe a quartet from the band, from advanced band, and the beginning band could do something. And you schedule them every hour, but they have a maximum of 45 minutes. If they only use 30 minutes, that's fine. What that does is it gives them a chance to have a holiday spirit, show their abilities. It also brings in parents and grandparents and shoppers to the market type of thing. Especially if you also have a few providers of drink and food. Set out some hot cider. And I think it's kind of important you have the right kind of vendors too for that. If this were an Oktoberfest event, I would say let's have beer. But this is a Christmas event. And so we should have hot cider and things like that.
Gingerbread.
Yeah, there you go. And if you wanted to, you could even have like a gingerbread house building contest. You make it a family fun event, and you even put out a program, and you publish it on the website, and you put it in the newspaper, and you hand it out to people ahead of time, and that way they know what's going on when, who's performing, and what time does the market open, and those kinds of things. And assuming this were to go forward, then we need to talk to the sheriff about closing down Lakeview Lane. Would we be using the parking for parking, or would we use that part for vendors and part for parking, or would we use it part for food trucks if that's what we were going to have? And that's what I really wanted to talk about, these kinds of ideas. What kind of money would we charge? What do we charge for the July 4th? No, I mean for the vendors.
Oh, the vendors, sorry. So,
Vendor booths are $50, food trucks are $50 a piece, and you're talking about having vendors at the beach
Yes,
instead of over here.
right.
So you're talking basically at the beach, but you're talking about a 4th of July type day,
Mm-hmm.
with food vendors, arts and crafts vendors, and all-day music within every hour, or
Well,
30 minutes.
I don't know
What
if it'll
we-
be
well-
all day.
Well, it won't be, because we probably won't be able to get them, but we could give the space for all them. But you're looking for
Right.
entertainment throughout the day in the band shell, vendors throughout the day, all
Okay.
day. How long of the event? Would it be an all-day event?
Well, don't say all day, because the parade, I believe, is at 11.
It's
No,
at,
it's
it's
at
at,
night.
it's
Oh,
at
it's a night
night.
parade, that's right.
And then the
6
afterglow
o'clock.
party is
6
after that at the beach.
Okay, all right, so my thing, I guess I would suggest we close it down before the parade.
Yes. Well, it might even have to be, yeah, it would have to be well before the parade.
Okay?
You
o'clock
probably
till
will
5
not have pedestrians coming for much longer, because they'll be
Right.
switching to the next event.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and so then it would
So it'd
be
be till 5
the
o'clock.
market, the parade, and Santa Claus.
Where is Lakeview Lane?
Lakeview's the one that goes right here, right here.
Okay, it's not Lane, it's Drive, because that's where I
Lakeview,
live.
okay, Lakeview, yeah.
Okay, I
Okay,
was trying to figure out what you,
It's
where you were
Lakeview,
talking.
I didn't know if it was street or road or what.
Close Lakeview?
Lakeview.
Close that road? Is
Yeah,
that
we've
what
done
you're
it
talking
before.
about?
We've done that before.
Close the whole road?
No,
No,
just,
we've
Not
never
the
closed
whole
the
road.
road.
just the city
Just
block.
up
Yeah, just the
up until-
basketball court.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
And so, so then I would hope we'd have a discussion about what costs, paying for the sheriff, security, I don't know what other costs there would be. Cleanup probably.
So if we're talking about the vendor and getting all that set up, you are correct. It is going, 3 months from now, we could have vendors, but they could already be booked. Food trucks are a little bit easier. There's a little bit, they're more mobile and can hit a couple of things. You're talking about sheriff's office for the parade is already covered by the parade and the road closure for that day. So it would be for the event that the city would have to do, and we have a set rate with them. So you're probably looking at, depending on how many vendors we have, 3 police officers for the day. And then the thing in the evening would be handled by Kiwanis. So potentially 3, but that's determined by the sheriff's office, how many we need, depending on how many people they think are gonna be there. Then you need all the staff, we would have to take turns rotating through Public Works. We at least need 1 person on the site for Public Works, and possibly rotating them in as well. Then you have, because we have to be here early for setup and all the way for takedowns. So I could have more distinct numbers for you. I could give you, if we're mirroring 4th of July, I could give you the numbers for this year's 4th of July.
That'd be great.
But I can't do it right this second because I don't have access to that. But I could have you, I mean, it's not inexpensive, but it's a lot more time, and it's a lot more planning. I think, and if you want my honest opinion as a person doing events, I think 1 day would probably be good to start off this year, because taking down, putting up, and all that stuff, 1 day would probably be more doable for us to do it well than to do a multiple day. We could-
Multiple days, too much on staff.
Okay,
It's way too
all
much.
right, 1 day.
What time would you want to start it?
Well, I know people don't want to spend 20 hours out there that day, and if you give them an hour to set up and an hour to break down, say 6 hours open from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., maybe. I'm open to ideas, I'll throw that out as a beginning spot. And that way they can show up by 9:30 or 10, set things up.
It gives them plenty of time to set up, not
Mhm.
rushing.
Yep, then market opens at 11, that way the food vendors can try to sell for lunch, and beyond. And then 5 o'clock, we call it quits and let them give an hour breakdown before the parade starts.
I have a question. What time was the parade?
6.
6 o'clock?
When people wanted to park for the parade, I would say that probably 11 to 4 would be more realistic, because people breaking down are going to, because they're going to shut down the road.
Yep.
And the parade is here, and vendors are going to be, if they're here, like they typically are, we have enough vendors for here. If we have them for the beach, but no matter what, they're going to need to have egress, and ingress. If we do it at the beach, they only have one way to get in to unload and load with a beach that we're not shutting down. You see what I'm saying? So they would have that one access to get in and unload their stuff without us shutting down the beach for that period of time. So they're gonna be driving in and out around that curve. I think if we did it here in this area, yes, it's away from the beach. Doesn't mean we can't have some there, but they're still going to want to park their vehicles right here to unpack all their goods. And also the side parking, which everybody who's out of town wanting to come for the parade, they're gonna wanna use these parking. So I think that we can start already, if you still want a longer period of time, we can start at 10 and end at 4. But I think that if we're giving them an hour breakdown, it needs to be well before people are gonna wanna come and park here to be able to line the sidewalks. You see what I'm saying? Logistically wise, I think that might be.
Can I make a
Well, we
suggestion?
also, excuse me, Tony,
Go ahead.
you want to go ahead? We also need to, to leave Lawrence open for the parade.
No, that's what, I understand. What I'm saying is, if we do have the event here, and we have enough vendors for our event to do it, it's harder for them to go in inside out.
I understood that
So if
part.
they do that, we need to be early enough. that
Yes,
people
so
will
we can
want to
clear it out.
unpack Everything, so
Right.
the latest I think we could do would be 4. Just so that they have an hour 4 to 5, because people are gonna start coming, they're gonna
Right,
cross the road.
right. They're going to set up and set their chairs up for the parade, yeah.
So,
I'd
Go
like-
ahead, Tony.
I'd like to make a suggestion that we don't put vendors down in the beach because of the incline and coming out is unsafe. If we focused right here and in the beach parking lot, that way if they need to exit, they can go down Lakeview or they can go down towards Ace Hardware and get back out. If they get stuck before the parade. Because when they shut this down, they ain't nobody moving.
Because people still go down to the beach to eat, like at
Yeah,
the picnic
I mean,
tables.
if you put your vendors, like we've done,
well, and there's not a lot of level ground.
right, but if we set it up more or less like 4th of July and have your stuff back here in the back, and then do your food over there in the beach parking lot,
And then the food vendors would leave in time, because the afterglow party, the council's already approved the afterglow party, and they're gonna have Santa and hot chocolate and all those food things, we don't wanna compete with them.
I love the idea of having the kids like singing Christmas carols down there under the pavilion. And so if they're down there singing on the stage, people are gonna be in the beach watching the kids sing, I would think. And, invite all the schools, the high school, the elementary, and the 2 elementary schools and the
Invite
high
the
school.
local churches,
And
anybody wants to.
anyone who, and then,
I
see
think
who
the council
can.
needs to do it.
Hey,
Sing
hey,
some carols.
careful what you
Well,
say.
that could be the entertainment, I think, and let them be
Charlie,
doing
can
Christmas
we-
carols. And, 30 minutes at a time, whatever, over this. I don't know your thoughts about that, Drew. Have the schools do the entertainment, let them sing the Christmas carols like they're going around door to door.
100%.
I think that gets them involved.
Whether or not they can get it, get something together, we have enough time if you do, vote on this at the next meeting to do this. We have enough time for me to reach out to all the community members and all the different community entities, organizations to see if anybody, and I've got a list putting in my head right now.
Yeah.
So basically, it would just be another 4th of July at Christmas.
It would be a Christmas.
Very
market.
similar,
Themed market, Christmas themed market.
right.
But
Yeah. Set up very similar.
So, 2 thoughts come to mind in our discussion, which is, this is a workshop, so that's why we talk. First one is, if we were to have vendors over here, I would just ask, that we make sure this is a very festive looking area. We have lots of lights and decorations and things like that. I don't want it to suffer in comparison to the beach, in other words. And the second possible idea is maybe set up a tiered vendor system with only a few vendors at the beach, but those would be higher priced locations, and all the rest of them here, so that people could go between the places, or they could be visiting vendors while the entertainment's going on. There'd be a limit to the number of vendors down at the beach, because for no other reason, there's not a whole lot of places to allow for vendors in flat locations. Just an idea.
Yes. Again, the only way that they can get their wares in there is to go in through that
Get
one
that
gate.
Right, but if you only have a few, if you only have 5 vendors there, then that's not a problem.
Depending on what type of vendors, I guess. Yes. I mean, I'm not saying no, I'm just saying I'd have to look at it. I haven't walked in there and look how many spaces we have. I would have to, if we're finishing this up at 4, then can they logistically all get out with still having an occupied beach?
And another thing that failed to mention, which is, in my mind, this is a test run.
Yes.
And we're probably gonna make mistakes. And it's probably not gonna work perfect. But that's okay. My idea is that we test things out this year, and hopefully we'll learn our lessons, and next year we do it better. And then we'll probably make some different mistakes next year. And we learn from those mistakes. And then we do it even better the 3rd year. And so I'm asking us to try not to make this perfect the first time. Let's allow for ourselves to make mistakes. And be okay with that.
Can I say something?
Yes,
Please do. Come on up.
Come on
I'm
up.
a business owner downtown on Lawrence Boulevard. I own Nutrition Retreat. I think your idea is fabulous. But I think shutting down the event before the parade starts is cutting into the vendors that are paying the money to be here when that's the main event of the day, of the evening, is your parade, when you're gonna have tenfold the people come into town for the parade. And so your vendors would be out here and you could have your food trucks, and then shut the craft show down when the parade's over with, and they can still access to be able to pack up their booths.
So you're saying to have a later event, or you expect people to stay from 11 till 8 o'clock? And I devil's advocate, I agree with you, and I felt the same, but 4th of July, and I know it's hot versus cool.
Right.
No one can, the vendors, you would think that's when they had their big sales, they did the year before, this year they did not.
Right.
So that, it doesn't always guarantee one, but it could potentially be a thing. Are you saying that we still have people pay to be here vending from 11 till like 8 o'clock at night?
Well, I mean, that's something you could propose. I mean, do you start it at 11, or do you say, let's start it at like 1 or 2 o'clock, and then you're done after the parade at,
So
you
it's
know,
more of a nighttime.
at 8? I mean,
Instead of a
because
day.
truly and honestly, like, I've lived here since, 86, 88. The Christmas parade's at night. Like, that's the main event of the day.
There's more people here.
There's more people that come to town.
Yes.
And I think if the show is open while the parade's going on, it helps the vendors, and they're gonna wanna come back year after year if you
No,
do
if we
it.
make it a nighttime event, I agree with you. If we make it a nighttime event, I'm thinking more of a logistics wise for the staffing and supporting the vendors.
Mhm.
But if you make it an evening event, then everything is going to be evening.
Correct.
It's not a full day event. We're just setting up, the vendors will come early enough to set up, they'll be here, and it'll be an evening event. So therefore, but then we have a whole other aspect, which no one's thinking about. We have lighting out there, but we have lots of trees that are beautiful and wonderful during the day, but are a little bit more dangerous at night. We're limiting our older people. Not every bit of the electrical out there works. So we can't necessarily guarantee to provide everybody with electricity, particularly on this side, which is a little darker.
Right.
So when you start doing that, an evening event, which sounds wonderful and fun, and I was on board until you start thinking about safety, cords have to be more illuminated, everything has to be brighter. It could potentially be something that we could do at a later event, but maybe not go completely late so it's dark outside.
Right. Can the park across the street be utilized? Because farmer's market has
so
been
it'll-
there.
Well, so for Christmas though, it's gonna be full of those trees that the businesses are gonna sponsor. Right after Thanksgiving?
But don't the trees just line up against the
Yes, ma'am,
fence?
but there's also a trust that we're involved in, that property cannot have things sold. I know that in the past we've had a
Yeah.
farmer's market there.
Okay.
I'm saying probably not.
I got you.
I'm
And-
thinking about parking too.
Yeah, and
If you
another
have that
thing
many
on
people
the
here.
vendor fees, I feel like the food trucks should be charged more money. Your small businesses come in, $50. That's a great deal to be a vendor at an event. But your food trucks are gonna feed all these people, and they're gonna bring in 3 times, if not more money than the small guys. So the food trucks should maybe be charged $100 or $100. That's still cheap
Yeah.
to be a food vendor.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say, I think the craft show should be during, not shut down before the parade.
Yeah.
Because that's when everybody comes to town.
So the thing that Kiwanis is having, the Afterglow thing, in the park, right?
It's at the beach,
So,
in the
and that's
pavilion.
in the pavilion, oh, that's in the pavilion?
pavilion.
Gotcha, okay.
So I mean, even if you had like the food trucks in the beach parking lot
Yeah.
and had the vendors over here,
Yeah,
you know, and if there's not electricity to some, I mean, I know a lot of vendors bring their own generators.
Yeah.
And they can fire that up.
We could even do that ourselves. We could have generators and provide electricity that way.
And you're probably gonna need to have the lights like we did at the street dance and stuff.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah, that's great. That's what we should do.
Like those big light that you can bring it on a trailer and
Yep.
shine them. Yeah,
We
absolutely.
usually got 2 or 3 of those when we did the street dance
Yeah.
at the airport or
Right.
wherever.
right.
Yeah.
And you can also hook into those with power cords and stuff.
Light it up.
Well, how are we doing it for street? We're doing the thing for Halloween for Boone the Boulevard. We're gonna have a band playing, and is that gonna be in the pavilion park, or is that gonna be on, in
Isn't
the
that
street?
normally in the bank parking lot?
Yeah, the bank.
Yeah. that should
Oh,
be
that's
the
bank-
bank.
The band for Boo on the Boulevard,
Yes,
It, it,
where
was
are
it-
they at?
they're going to be in PNC Bank Park.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wonder about the lighting and
They
all
got-
that.
that's
that
free.
night.
That's lit.
They have all their lighting, and then it's the power is donated by businesses next door,
Oh, okay,
which we're still talking, I haven't talked to them yet, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's not on the side.
yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think,
Thanks.
it's a good suggestion for sure.
Okay.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I still want to emphasize, I stay with my vendors away from down in the beach. Only because, I mean, I've been a part of doing the logistics for some of this stuff in the past. And being down there, I mean, you guys had to come help us.
We had people get stuck a
They
bunch
get
of times.
stuck in there and stuff. And we're on a time frame if we put anybody down there to get them out of there at a certain time.
Yeah.
And when this place, everybody here knows how fast this place grows within minutes when it comes time for the parade.
Well, yeah, and people are blocking things and, yeah.
And we don't want them to get down there and get.
And the parking, the
Yeah.
parking at night.
And that's one thing I know you probably already thought about it, Drew, is when we do something, we need to check with Community Church, First Baptist Church, and make sure if
Yeah,
they.
no, I haven't even, I mean, we have to agree on this before I can even on that.
Right.
Because they house all of our parking.
Right.
So, and we haven't done this at this time of year, so I don't know what their calendars look like for that, because this time of year, they have tatas and
Right.
different things, and events of their own, so I don't know if their parking lots will be used for them, and then their members won't be able to use. I haven't looked at the dates, because we've only been dealing
Oh,
with
yeah.
Ray. But once I do that, I can talk to the community and, First Baptist to see if they're, make sure that we're putting a burden on the calendar, because people have always used it before for Christmas.
Right.
I'm assuming they know about the parade calendar, so I'm assuming it's not gonna be a conflict.
My other question, and I'm sorry, but on your suggestions you gave us, we did, I don't know when we did this, but we did talk about $1,600 to build this 6x10 frame building.
Yep.
Did we not vote to do that, or did we
did
just
not.
table?
It was a workshop. We did not vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you were gonna bring, some specs on it, Dan. Do you have that?
So these are the drawings that my carpenter put together. And the basis of these was where I got the $1,600 estimate was for the parts. And then he thought maybe $1,000 for the labor. My carpenter did. In the interim, since we had our meeting in July, he has told me he's retiring. This design still works, and I have asked him for a recommendation for another carpenter who he would thinks could do this work. And so that kind of does lead to the next item of discussion, and that is, do we want to try to have a kiosk? And if you could go ahead in the slides and
Oh, sorry, I thought we were just giving up on them and now, hold on, give me a second.
so go ahead, keep going. we don't need to go to this, but, okay, so, this is not this December. This is a long-term goal. And if you've ever been to these European Christmas markets, they just fill you with such joy walking into them. The smells, the music, the sights, the lights. It's a wonderful experience. Move on. Longest going market in all of Europe from Easterly. Next. That's me with my son. My son's now a junior in college, but you get the idea. The kids love it. Next. Next. This is in Chicago. They do this every year in Chicago. There are other places in the States where they do this too.
Leavenworth does it in Washington.
Okay. There's many places, but there's not a lot in Florida. Not a lot. I only think I know of 2 places that do something like this in all of Florida. Next. So that's a basic stall. And you can create ordinances or HOA requirements that they have to have a wreath and they have to have such and such lights, or you don't. You can do whatever you want. And the ones that have been around for decades and decades, they all have food courts, a bunch of kiosks that all they do is, in Germany it was Glühwein, if you've ever been there. It's a special kind of wine they only make at Christmas. That's it. And so then I looked into options, and so let's go forward, forward, forward. A basic kiosk, a basic stall, and forward, forward. The nice thing about these stalls is you fold up the windows and you lock the door, and everything inside is secure, and you can walk away, and you can come back the next day and open it all up, and all your stuff is there, and you don't have to worry about the weather, and you don't have to worry about theft, and it's a wonderful thing that you can keep up. And they'll start from late November, and they'll go, some markets will go into early January. Other markets end on the 24th, and they're done. And you can do whatever you want, but it's a big money-raising thing for the vendors. Next. So I looked at different options. This is one company that you can fold it, put it down, and then put it away for the rest of the year. And so that's an option. Next. This is another one, folding. Just need a forklift. It stands about 2.5 feet tall when it's all folded down. Next. And then pricing, I couldn't find for the life of me companies that would make this here in the United States. And then someone said to me, you know, we got some carpenters around Keystone Heights here. I'll bet some of them could build one of those things. And so that's where I got this from. I went and talked to a carpenter friend of mine. He said, yeah, I could do that. We don't have to pay these huge prices. So that's what I was proposing, and I think we should still go through with this Christmas market, whether or not we have a kiosk, but I would love to test one. I'd love to have a carpenter build one and put it out there and see what works and what doesn't work and what it really costs, and just try it. That's what I'd like to do. And so I've asked, as I said, city manager to put it on the agenda for our next council meeting and for under action items, and I'd like to ask my fellow council members to consider the idea and give me thumbs up or thumbs down, and I'll go with whatever you decide. Just want to try it.
On the agenda, Mr. Lewandowski, would you like that entertained as Christmas market or Christmas, how would you like it?
Well, I think it's very separate from the parade, from the Kiwanis effort, from the tree lighting. So I think it should just be the Christmas market. Yeah, I don't want it to get confused with anything.
With a
else.
one day?
Yep, for the one day.
You are on the agenda.
Okay.
Y'all have any questions? So for the building, and I'm glad you came with some details. I'd want to see, like, what's all included with the building, what does the finished item look like when they're finished? I mean, what does it look like for the money? What are we paying for, besides what we see on a drawing?
Well, they've never done this before, so that's gonna be a little bit difficult.
It's going to be important to know what that is, if we're going to spend taxpayer money. So,
Okay.
you know, I
Well-
mean, I think,
Can I ask another question?
sure,
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay.
So let's just say hypothetically speaking, you own a piece of vacant property on Lawrence Boulevard, right?
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
Okay,
there's a
got it.
piece that-
to the mic, please. People watch this at home.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, okay. I
this
didn't
room
know.
is terrible for sound.
So you own a vacant piece of property directly on Lawrence Boulevard. The city doesn't own it.
Okay.
It's privately owned.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
There's nothing on it right now. If you wanted to manufacture these buildings yourself, I know you'd have to get all your licenses and yada, yada, yada. But is that something that the city has to approve if you own the property on Lawrence Boulevard?
Well, you gotta see what the zoning,
Well, that's what I'm saying, but like, does it have to go to council for you guys to vote on it, to put it there?
It's a temporary structure.
It wouldn't be a temporary structure. It wouldn't be a temporary
It would still
structure.
have to go through the-
zoning.
Okay, but you know what I'm
So
saying.
if,
Okay.
so if, for example, I know the gentleman at Atlantic Logistics, he has that vacant lot there. So yes, he would have to come through zoning and planning to propose his
Okay.
building, and then it has to come to us to approve it.
Okay.
So anything that's a new build, just like the new subdivision, they had to come lay all that out to council, and they had to vote on the plan, that original plan. So yes, we have to, from my knowledge, have to approve anything like that, that would go into a space like that in town.
But it would be like that.
That would be
Like-
wonderful.
It would still be subject to, and that's a whole other thing, we're not sure what, with that, with codes and stuff, we haven't even gotten to that point, because they're just discussing.
It's no different really than what I showed.
Right, it would still have to be follow, the city still has to follow their rules.
Right, and I understand that. I'm just saying like the property is privately owned. It's not owned by the city.
If it's privately owned, yes, you still have, if you're
Okay.
gonna build on it, you still have to bring those plans to planning and
Because it's
zoning.
in the city limits.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
yeah,
That's all I needed to know.
yeah.
It wouldn't just be a permit that she would have to get to do that?
No, I
To
think
go
the
through
plan,
the-
no, we have to, yeah, we have to, see the layout and how the facade's gonna look, those kinds of details. Yeah, anything in the city limit.
It has to make, we have to be sure it matches the city's comprehensive plan, that's why it goes through planning and zoning.
Yeah.
Which we don't have.
Well, we have an old one. It has
We
to
have,
be updated.
yeah,
We have one?
yeah, we do have one.
I've never seen it.
2016.
I was on that committee.
Yeah, they went through when they were looking at the Sunrise subdivision a couple of years ago, they went through an exhaustive meeting, presenting to city council, all that layout detail with the architects and the landscape folks.
But then,
And you all were there, you were there.
oh, I was there.
I know,
Yes.
I was in the audience.
That's why I don't have any hair. That would go for us also when we're doing behind the old firehouse too.
That's correct, yeah,
So,
that's
I mean,
true.
We got great ideas, but,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna happen this year.
yeah.
That won't
Next
happen.
year.
Right.
So just like what I shared with you all, that's where we got to, it'll have to go through planning and zoning, once we
Yeah.
know that those buildings meet, what we're trying to do, concept and all, even though we own the land, we still have to take it through the process, just like a citizen would.
Yeah.
Seems like it'd be easier. Good question.
I'd support it. One other option, and I at one point was going to do this, and then I pulled back because I thought the city council was gonna support this. And the option was, I was gonna pay for a kiosk of my own. I was gonna pay a carpenter to build one, and for me to use it at the Christmas market. And so if the stopping point, if the holdup is the use of city money, then I want to take that obstacle away. And I'll pay for it. I don't want that to be the obstacle. If we're going to try this idea, let's try it, and let's not put up reasons not to. I'll pay for it.
feel like I'm talking too much, but anyhow.
Go for it.
I like that idea because it gives us a visual. It also, if you're going to do it, it's going to be yours. I mean, you can donate it to the city later, but if you're going to pay for it and use it to show, show us how it's going to work and all that kind of stuff, I would be in favor of something like that because that way we don't have to go through all the red tape for bidding and all that stuff.
Oh, for this amount, you don't have to bid it.
Well, I know that, but still you got red tape. So you, if you did it yourself and you put it out there yourself.
For the one-time event, so we don't have to go through the zoning thing or none of that, just for the
We
one-time
don't
thing?
have to anyway for a one-day
For a
event.
one-time thing,
So,
Is it gonna be, what, you gonna take it home when you're done?
yeah.
I
So
guess
we-
I'll have to.
Yeah, that's my next question, that's what happens to it next.
Okay.
Yes, Charlie?
So, I know that you get out of school tomorrow and you're off for 2 days.
Ha, not me.
No, Putnam didn't shut you.
Thursday,
No,
So-
right now Putnam County is one day, Thursday, that's it.
I'm gonna offer you something that's precious, which is staff time, and I'd like you and Ms. Bell to sit down and fully articulate all your ideas, and let's provide the council and public a piece of backup, by early next week that we can attach to the October 7th agenda. So you've mentioned you want your up or down vote. I think we just need to spell it all out. Make the writing and the vision plain, and that way the public gets to see it, council gets to see it, and
So that's what I kind of thought this meeting was for.
So we've talked
Those
a
ideas.
lot, but what we actually put on the October 7th agenda, if we just say Christmas market, I think that just that's not nearly enough detail.
Oh, I agree with that.
I don't think so, because you want specific
I
things.
agree with that.
I hear your heart, so I want to have those things laid out.
Okay, and then I'll lay them out and we can amend it or whatever we want to do at the meeting then, and then vote up or down on it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, council members, for your time.
All good. Good job. Y'all have any other questions?
Councilman Levineski, if you have about 5 to 10 minutes, if you'd like to swing by tomorrow, I'm
I have to work tomorrow.
Well, if you want to wait a few minutes, I'm
I'll wait.
printing it currently.
I'll wait, thank you.
And then I will email the rest of council that and the amendment that I have.
Okay.
We are done, right? You got it.
Can I just kind of summarize what's going to happen with the weather event to the best of my knowledge right now for anybody that might be listening? So you have a Clay County Executive Group, which is your county managers, fire chief, sheriff, all the tax collector, property appraiser, city managers, that meet when one of these events looks like it's going to kick off. So the decisions that were made today were everywhere in Clay County at noon tomorrow, close government operations. So if you need to apply for a building permit or buy a cemetery permit or come in tomorrow, you got till noon, and then we're locking the door. And then on Thursday, everybody's going to be hunkered down, for lack of a better term, and we are expecting a very strong wind event. Not as much rain. We're looking at 3 to 4 inches in our area. However, our ground is very saturated. You only have to drive over the Brooklyn Bridge to see how much water is everywhere right now. And then Friday morning, when the sun comes up, if the hurricane stays on the track we think it is, moving through at the speed we think it will, we'll be assessing any damage that we have and go into our normal recovery efforts. But your city hall, Clay County government offices, tomorrow afternoon, Wednesday, all day Thursday, all day Friday will be closed. Me, the public works guys, and whoever else I need will be working, but we just won't be doing normal operations in the lobby.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie, you have anything?
No, council, I have nothing to add. I will be available if you guys need me. I can walk in the rain, I promise. I'm a good
Okay.
woman.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. Meeting's adjourned.